Hello friends, welcome to our Safety webcast. In today's video demonstration, we are going to see the steps to configure a two-node failover cluster in Windows Server 2016. But first of all, let's understand our lab scenario. For this demo, I'll be using three servers, which is one domain server and two member servers. This is one of the member server named Node1, and this server is a part of our Active Directory domain mylab.local. As you can see, the configured IP address on this server is 192.168.49.111, and we have one more network adapter with the IP address 10.10.10.111. Let's move to our another node. The name of this server is Node2, and this server is also part of our Active Directory domain mylab.local, and we have assigned IP addresses 192.168.49.112 and 10.10.10.112 to this server. Now we have one more server, and that is our domain controller. This is our domain controller. We have assigned IP address 192.168.49.101 to our domain controller. In the first step, we are going to configure storage for our failover cluster, and for this demonstration purpose, I'll be using my domain controller for iSCSI's storage server. So first of all, you have to install iSCSI storage service on this Windows server, and then after you are able to configure iSCSI virtual disk. Once you open iSCSI, let's click on to create an iSCSI virtual disk to start a new iSCSI virtual disk wizard. Okay, now let's select type a custom path, and let's manually browse the location where we want to store our iSCSI virtual disk. I'm going to select S drive. Okay, let's click on next. And here you have to specify the name of your iSCSI virtual disk. I'm going to specify name over disk 1, and then let's click on next button. Now here you have to specify the size of your virtual disk. For this demonstration, I'm going to specify size 5 GB, and we are going to use dynamically expanding disk type. Let's click on next. Now on this console, it is asking us to specify iSCSI target to that virtual disk. We are creating a first virtual disk, that's why there's no existing iSCSI target. So we have to create new iSCSI target. So select new iSCSI target and then click on next. Now here you have to specify the name of your target. I'm going to specify name iSCSI target 1, and let's click on next again. On this console, we have to specify the iSCSI initiator or initiators that will be accessing this iSCSI virtual disk. Let's click on add to add new one. Select third options, enter a value for selected type, and type will be IP address. Here we have to specify the IP address of our node servers. That will be 192.168.49.111. Let's click on OK. Now let's again click on add button, select third options, select IP address, and specify the IP address of our node 2 server. So these are the servers who are going to access our iSCSI virtual disk. Let's click on next. Now we are not going to use authentication. If you want to use authentication CHAP or reverse CHAP, you can enable it from here. Let's click on next. And now let's click on create to create new iSCSI virtual disk. Okay, let's click on close to close this console. So we have one iSCSI disk named vdisk1. Let's create one more iSCSI virtual disk. Let's click on task, select new iSCSI virtual disk. Again specify the location, and that will be S drive. Let's click on next. I'm going to specify name vdisk2. Let's click on next. Specify size. I'm going to specify 50 GB, and the disk type will be dynamically expanding. Now we are going to use the existing iSCSI target which we specified earlier, and here is the IP address of our node who is going to access this iSCSI virtual disk. Let's click on create. If you want to create more iSCSI virtual disk, you can create using the same steps. But for this demonstration, I think 2 virtual disks are enough. Now, we have successfully created iSCSI disk on our storage server. Now, our next step is to connect iSCSI target on both nodes. So let's minimize this. And this is our node 1. I'm going to click on Tools, and then I'm going to click on iSCSI Initiator. Okay, there will be one message. Click on Yes on it. Okay, now first of all, I'm going to click on Discovery. Click on Discover Portal, and here you have to specify the IP address of our iSCSI target. In our case, it is 192.168.49.101. That is the IP address of our storage server. Let's click on Advanced, and from here I'm going to select the IP address 192.168.49.111. Okay, that's added. Let's click on OK. Okay, now let's click on Target, and here we can see the iSCSI target which we created on our iSCSI storage server will be displayed over here. Now if you see the status, it is inactive. So let's click on Connect to connect it. Okay, now I'm going to click on Advanced, and local adapter will be Microsoft iSCSI Initiator. Initiator IP will be 192.168.49.111, and target portal will be 192.168.49.101. Let's click on OK. OK again, and as you can see, now status is saying it is connected. Let's click on OK. Now I'm going to open Disk Management Snap-in. So let's right click on Start button and select Disk Management. On our Disk Management, you can see there is Disk 1, and we have one more disk, Disk 2, with the size of 50 GB. Okay, let's bring online this Disk 1 and Disk 2. Okay, now let's initialize this disk. Right click on it and select Initialize Disk. Let's click on OK with, we want to initiate this disk with MBR partition style. Let's click on OK. Okay, so now as you can see, both disk is online with basic disk type. Let's create partition on our disk. I'm going to specify drive letter Q. Let's click on Next, Next, and Finish. Okay, now let's create another partition on our disk 2. Sorry, I'm going to use drive letter R, and then I'm going to click on Next. Okay, now our node 1 is ready. We have to perform all the steps on our node 2. So let's move to our node 2. Let's log in as a 2 main administrator. On a Server Manager console, I'm going to click on Tools and then click on iSCSI Initiator. Click on Yes button. Click on Discovery tab and click on Discover Portal. Here you have to specify the IP address of our iSCSI storage server. In my case, that is 192.168.49.101. Let's select a local adapter, Microsoft iSCSI Initiator, and Initiator IP will be 192.168.49.112. Let's click on OK, and OK again. Now let's click on Targets tab, and here you can see target is inactive. Let's connect it. Click on Advanced. Here I'm going to select Microsoft iSCSI Initiator as a local adapter, and the Initiator IP will be 192.168.49.112. That is the IP address of our this node, and the target portal's IP address will be 192.168.49.101. Let's click on OK. OK again, and it is connected now. Let's click on OK to continue. Let's again open Disk Management Snap-in. Okay, on Disk Management Snap-in, right click on Disk 1 and bring online. Do the same for Disk 2. Okay, so now we have successfully configured storage that are required for our failover cluster. And the next step, we need to install failover clustering feature on our both node. I'm going to minimize this console, and on the submanage console, I'm going to click on Manage and select Add Roles and Features. Let's click on Next. Select role-based or feature-based installation and then click on Next. Here we have only one server, and that is our node 2. So I'm going to select node 2 and then I'm going to click on Next button. Click on Next. On Select Features console, we have to select Failover Clustering feature. So let's select this. Click on Add Feature to add required features. Let's click on Next. Let's click on Install to start the installation process. We need to perform the same steps on our node 1 as well. So let's move to node 1. Go back to Server Manager. Click on Manage and then select Add Roles and Features. Click on Next on Before You Begin screen. Select role-based or feature-based installation and then click on Next. Select your local server, in my case that is node 1, and then click on Next button. On Select Server Roles console, you have to click on Next button, and on Select Features console, you have to select Failover Clustering. Click on Add Features, click on Next, and click on Install to start the installation process. Okay, Failover Clustering feature has been installed successfully on our node 1. Let's click on Close to close this console. And let's move to our node 2 as well. And here you can see Failover Clustering has been installed successfully as well on our node 2. Let's close this console. Okay, once you install a Failover Cluster feature, let's open Failover Cluster Manager console to test our cluster setting. So let's click on Tools. Remember, we are on node 2. Let's select Failover Cluster Manager console. On Failover Cluster Manager console, let's click on Validate Configuration. On Before You Begin screen, you have to click on Next button. Now here you have to specify the server which you want to add as a cluster node. So let's click on Browse button and let's click on Advanced. Click on Find Now and select node 1 and node 2. Let's click on OK. OK again. OK. Now let's click on Next button. Here we have two options. If you want to run all tests, and that option is recommended, and if you want to run specific test, that time you can select the second one. But you want to run all tests, that's why I'm not going to change anything on this console. Let's click on Next. Okay, let's click on Next. Okay, this is a summary. Cluster testing has been completed successfully. There is no error, but there is some warning. And here it is saying us you should review the warnings in the report. So let's click on View Report to see the report. Click on Allow Block Content. Okay, here we can see all inventory related test has been completed successfully. All network related test has been completed successfully. All storage related test has been completed successfully. But we have some warnings in a system configuration related test. So let's click on System Configuration. And here we have a total 2 warnings. One for validate all drivers that are signed by Microsoft. And we have another for validate software update levels. So first let's click on validate all drivers signed. See, for this demonstration purpose, I'm using Oracle VM VirtualBox to virtualize this test machine. And on that machine, I've installed VirtualBox Gas Edition tools. And that drivers are not signed by Microsoft Hardware Quality Lab. That's why we have a warning about signed drivers. And here you can see that information is here. VirtualBox device, VirtualBox graphics adapter for Windows 8. And this drivers are not signed by Microsoft. That's why we are seeing warnings related to VirtualBox drivers. Okay, you should save this report for future reference. So I'm going to save this report. Let's click on File and let's click on Save As. Under Documents, I'm going to create new folder. Let's click on Save. Then let's close this console. Let's click on Finish. Now we are ready to create Two Node Failover Cluster in Windows Server 2016. Let's click on Create Cluster to start the wizard. Let's click on Next. Let's click on Browse. Click on Advanced. Click on Find Now and select Node 1 and Node 2. Let's click on OK. OK again. And let's click on Next button. Now here it is asking us to specify the name of your cluster. I'm going to give name MyLab Cluster 01. Here you have to specify the IP address. Now for this demonstration, I'm going to give IP address 192.168.49.201. Let's click on Next. Okay, now here these options is selected. Add all eligible storage to the cluster. Let's click on Next. Okay, cluster has been created successfully. If you want to see the report, you can click on View Report. Okay, and if you want to save this report, you can. Let's close this. Let's click on Finish. Now we have a one cluster named MyLab cluster01.mylab.local. Okay, let's expand it. Now if you want to add certain rules, you can add it from here, but right now there's nothing to display. Let's click on Nodes, and here we have a total 2 node, Node 1 and Node 2. If you expand storage and if you click on disk, here we have a total 2 disk. Cluster disk 1, and it is assigned to disk witness in quorum. Cluster disk 2, which is available for storage with the size of 50 GB. If you click on networks, we have total 2 networks, cluster network 1 and cluster network 2. Select cluster network 1, and as you can see, the subnet is 192.168.49.0/24. Now the use is cluster and client. And we have another network that is 10.10.10.0/24 that will be only available for clusters. If you want to change your network from cluster and client to cluster only, you can. Let's right click on it and select properties. Okay, I'm going to specify name, private cluster only. Here this is the options. Let's click on apply and OK. And now select cluster network 2 and I'm going to give name public. Click on apply and OK. So I give some specific names so we can identify the network. Okay, now let's click on MyLab cluster01.mylab.local. Now if you want to add certain rules to your cluster, that time you have to click on rules. Right click on it, select configure rules, click on next, and on both node that rule must be installed before you select that rule. For example, if I select file server, after waiting for a few seconds, there will be an error. The required role or feature file services could not be found on any node. So you have to add that role or feature on that node by using Server Manager. So let's cancel it. Let's come back to Server Manager. Click on Manage, add roles and features, click on Next, select role-based or feature-based installation, click on Next, and from select servers from server pool, I'm going to select Node 2, click on Next, and I'm going to select file server rule. Click next, next again, and install. Let's close this. Let's again click on add roles and features. Select role based or feature based installation. Let's use node 1. Next. Select file server. Next, next again, and click on install to start the installation process. Okay, file server role has been successfully installed on our node 2. So let's close this, and installation has been completed on node 1 as well. Let's close this again. Now let's go back to cluster manager, right click on roles, select configure roles, click on next, and for this demonstration we're going to configure file server role. Click on next. Now here we have a total 2 options: file server for general use and scale out file server for application data. For this demonstration, we're going to use file server for general use. Click on next. Now here you have to specify the name of client access point. For this demonstration, I'm going to give name FS server 01, and I'm going to specify IP address 202. Let's click on next. Now it is asking us to specify the storage. We have only one disk for storage purpose. Let's select that disk, and the size is 50 GB. Let's click on next, and click on next again. And that's it. Let's click on finish. Okay, and here you can see file server, the status is up and running, and current owner is node 2. If you want to change the owner of that server role, you can change it. Right click on it and select move. Here we have a total 2 options: based possible node, and if you want to select node manually, that time you can select this one. Here we have a total 2 node, node 1 and node 2. So we have only one option, node 1. Select it. Let's click on OK. And here we go. Now node 1 is a own node for file server. So this is the way how you can configure a 2 node failover cluster in Windows Server 2016. That concludes this video demonstration. Thank you all for watching this video.